Hello everyone and welcome to Season 2 of F1 2019 Career Mode, and we have some big news. 4 of Formula One's most competitive teams have opted to change their driver lineup for the upcoming season. Ferrari have signed a resurgent Sergio Perez to partner Sebastian Vettel for the new season, leaving Charles Leclerc to move to Racing Point to complete the switcheroo. Lewis Hamilton has surprisingly left Mercedes to go to the Red Bull team, leaving Hulkenberg without a drive. Mercedes, scrambling for a driver, opted for Lance Stroll.
Welcome back. I hope you're rested and ready for the new season. I don't think we really got the most out of the team last year. The car didn't really improve as I would have liked. Let's try and do better this time.
Are you kidding me, Carl? Are you kidding me? We went from being at the back of the midfield to being the second fastest car, and you say that's not good enough. Gee whiz. What do you want? We're winning races by the end of the season. Well, I wasn't, but my teammate was, so that's surely good enough. But anyway, welcome to the Australian Grand Prix for Season 2, and this time we have a very, very good chance of winning the thing. Look at this. We have a whole host of upgrades coming in this weekend, so they should very much help us out. But still nothing at all on the engine side, and there are the driver transfers that I outlined in the little intro sequence. But that will be very interesting to see how those driver transfers play out. Hamilton moving to Red Bull, Perez to Ferrari, Leclerc to Racing Point, so I will have a new teammate. So it'll be interesting to see how they play, all those switches play out. But our rivalry with Verstappen continues, though the one with Perez has been cancelled, which is fine by me because he was winning that by a small margin. So hopefully we will be able to have a bit of a reset, because we were missing a bit of pace compared to our teammate towards the end of last season. So hopefully we can get our act together and just get on with things and get the season started off well here in Australia. And we have got the fastest car, so we have every chance of winning this race. But we also have a very unbalanced car, but I'll get to that in a moment. But Mercedes second fastest, so it'll be interesting to see if Valtteri Bottas and Lance Stroll can keep the pace with us. Red Bull third fastest, Hamilton will be a threat obviously. McLaren have actually jumped to fourth fastest, so Lucas Weber, Lando Norris, they'll be looking to score podiums, maybe even wins, if they can keep their development up. So really nice work for them over the break to catch up to the front running teams, and Ferrari dropping to fifth fastest on the chart there. But you would have seen we were first on both the aero and chassis side, and second last on the engine side as we head into practice now. So we have a car that is rapid in the corners, but not very quick on the straights. Here is Devon Butler, who is still at Haas. Haas are in a bit of a weird place actually, because they are a little bit off the top 5 teams, but they've got a bit of a gap in car speed to the next 4 teams rather, of Alfa Romeo, Toro Rosso, Williams and Renault. So there'll be a bit of a fight between all of them to get some fringe points in a chaotic race. But anyway, end of practice 1, Valtteri Bottas takes it, Lance Stroll in third, so the Mercedes has good pace. Ferrari showing that they are not slow, with Sebastian Vettel in second. Charles Leclerc showing the potential of our car in fourth place. Sergio Perez a long way off of his new teammate. But we move on to practice 2, and we jump right up to the top and take the fastest time for the Racing Point team. Lewis Hamilton showing the Red Bull's potential. They were a bit quiet in the first session. Lance Stroll again up in fourth, so he's showing some decent pace in the Mercedes car, and he will be quite happy with the way this is going so far. Sergio Perez a lot closer to his teammate, and we move on to practice 3, and once again we get second. Charles Leclerc takes the fastest time, so really solid pace from Racing Point so far. Lucas Weber a a good time for him too in the McLaren. So it could be a really close fight between all five of our teams. We all had good pace at different points during practice, so this could be a really tense one, and we could have some really close battling between a lot of different cars throughout this race. We'll have to watch out for Weber and Norris. Obviously, they're a bit of an unknown because the McLarens, we haven't really battled with them too much. They were for the last season mostly behind us. We did have some battles with Weber, but yeah, Norris generally wasn't with the pace. Anyway, let's get into qualifying.
We're just about ready to kick off today's qualifying here in Melbourne. It's the Australian Grand Prix. And as we count down to that green light, I have to say, Anthony Davidson, that this rain is not showing any signs whatsoever of abating. I imagine we'll be looking at some last-minute setup changes to better adapt these cars to the conditions. What do you think?
The trouble is, Crofty, they need to be thinking about the race tomorrow. You don't want to go jacking up the ride heights and piling on a few points of extra downforce that you're not going to want in the Grand Prix itself. The Parc Fermé regulations mean that you have to make that choice. The best thing the drivers can do is adapt with the tools they have available in the cockpit. Moving the brake bias forward will help stop the rear end slipping out under braking, and opening up the differential can really help tame the oversteer on corner exit. The drivers that can make best use of these techniques will have the best chance for success here today.
Alright, so here we are for Q1, and as you can see, it is raining. I haven't spoken a lot about the weather, but yeah, rain is forecast for both Q1 and for qualifying, and potentially late in the race as well. Stuttering with all my words here, but anyway, we come towards the line to end our first flying lap in Q1, and it's not a great lap. But Q1 shouldn't be too difficult. There's quite a few teams that are a fair way off the pace, but I haven't been great in the rain in general. But thankfully, we do just scrape through in P15. Danny Kvyat, Robert Kubica, Daniel Ricciardo, George Russell and Antonio Giovinazzi knocked out. Daniel Ricciardo being beaten by Robert Kubica, that Renault really struggling. But I suspect he may have been held up on his flying lap because Kevin Magnussen is up in 12th, and generally Ricciardo has been the faster one out of those two. So anyway, as we go on to Q2 and just try to survive another lap around this slippery circuit, it is a little bit sketchy in qualifying here in the rain, especially through that chicane. There are a few moments through there, but anyway, as we come around the final few corners now to finish our flying lap in Q2, hopefully we can find some improvement. I was getting more confident and definitely finding a lot more pace as the sessions went on. So as we come towards the line, running out of time in this one, but we cross the line and we go to P6. So we have found some mega pace now, and we are right on pace with where we should be. Lucas Weber also has been showing some good pace up in third in this session. Charles Leclerc down in P8, Lance Stroll just scraping through in P10, and as we scroll down the list, you'll see that Lando Norris, Alex Albon, Devon Butler, Kevin Magnussen and Kimi Räikkönen knocked out. But we move on to Q3, the final stage of qualifying. So let's hope that we can get a good lap together in this one and hopefully move ourselves further up the grid. We found a lot of pace in Q2 compared to our Q1 run. So as we come around the final few corners to end the lap, let's hope that we can find some further improvement. And you'll notice I'm just doing one lap, but that's fine. That's plenty of time to get us a good position. So as we come towards the line, we cross the line, where are we going to qualify?
Excellent lap. We're really pleased.
P2. Not bad.
And with qualifying complete, Let's review our top three today. Hamilton, the scientist, and Sergio Perez. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
So Hamilton puts the Red Bull on pole position. Sergio Perez showing the move to Ferrari might not be a bad choice with a P3 there. Really showing up Sebastian Vettel down in 9th place, so unfortunate for Vettel not getting his lap together clearly. Verstappen missing a lot of pace to Hamilton, and Stroll actually not doing too badly compared to Valtteri Bottas, and obviously myself just edging out Leclerc by 2 positions. So we're all pretty close though in actual time, other than the last 2 of Gasly and Vettel. So obviously they had some issues on their laps. Gasly obviously not quite with the pace in that Haas car, but Vettel must have had some issue. Maybe he got held up, who knows. But yeah, that is the starting order for the top 10 in the race. So let's get into it.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. What was the secret of your qualifying pace?
I think it really just comes down to confidence and just building it up over the laps in qualifying more than anything else.
How does a car perform in these conditions? Is it an advantage or a disadvantage?
I think it's actually an advantage given the characteristics of our car. I feel like it did help us out.
You left some body work out there on the track. Were you struggling for grip?
That didn't happen.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Claire.
All right, I think we can call that a successful qualifying. We should be in with a good chance in the race.
We certainly should be. So this could be an interesting one. We could potentially get our first win. If not, we are certainly on target for a podium. So let's get into it.
They say that even a second is an eternity in Formula One, so going 4 winter months with no racing at all has seemed a very long time indeed. We're back though in Melbourne, home of the Australian Grand Prix since 1996. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. Its combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners make it a tricky track when it comes to overtakes. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. I'm joined today in the commentary box, as I will be throughout this season, by a great racing driver, former F1 competitor, former world champion, and as he tells me all too often, an all-round top chap. It's the one and only Anthony Davidson. And tell me, here we are, first Grand Prix of the season, first time racing these cars. What are the big questions that need to be answered here, in your view?
Oh, thanks, Crofty. It's a real privilege to be here, and I can't wait to see what's in store for us this season. Now, to answer your question, one of the biggest things is reliability. Formula One cars are full of very sophisticated but also very sensitive technology, and this first Grand Prix of the season is going to push them to the limits. So the most important thing today is to stay out of trouble, get to the end of the race and keep everything in good condition.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position and the scientist completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Leclerc, Valtteri Bottas and Verstappen, Stroll, Weber, Vettel and Pierre Gasly, Norris, Albon, Devon Butler and Magnussen, Raikkonen, Kvyat, Robert Kubica and Daniel Ricciardo. Russell and Antonio Giovinazzi starts from the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Okay, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but treat it like any other race. Don't take unnecessary risks.
We certainly won't be doing that, especially with rain on the radar towards the end. We'll be hopefully playing it safe until then. But this could make strategy very important because there is no requirement to start on the soft tyres since everyone qualified on intermediates, and we're not starting on those. So yeah, this will be interesting, but I think we will play it safe, start on the soft tyres and hope that they are good enough. I've actually turned off tyre carcass temperatures completely because I felt like they were just almost, I wouldn't say ruining it.
Okay, go through all the gears if you can. We need to make sure the engagement is okay before the start. We're going to want to put some temperature into the tyres and brakes. We need to keep the engine cooler, so don't go too high with the revs.
But
Conditions look stable at the moment. No rain currently expected.
No rain at the moment.
Keep an eye on the lights. The start sequence will begin as soon as the grid has formed. Be ready with the clutch.
But I mentioned that I was losing a lot of pace to Sergio Perez at the end of last season, and I think that's why is the tyre temperature management. But anyway, that is no longer a problem as we now go to 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the Australian Grand Prix, and it's a nice start, and we immediately draw alongside Hamilton as we head into the first corner, outbrake him and take the apex, and we lead the Australian Grand Prix as we exit turn 2, and that is a superb start. That is exactly what we needed, and now it is all about just staying calm, not making a mistake, and hopefully we can bring this home. But it is just the very, very early stages of the race, and we have led early before and run into issues later. So I think that was in Russia where that happened, and again it was the tyre temperatures in that race I felt that were slowing me down in the end. But hopefully there will be no such issues today.
That's a decent start. Good job.
And it looks like we have the pace at the moment, so let's see if we can just pull away and hope for good things later on. And this is also to some extent a race until the rain period, and the strategy to get to that rain period will be very important. If you can get there with one pit stop, if you can get there with no stops, it depends exactly when the rain comes, and that is the great unknown at this point. But a bit of a mistake there. So we can't be affording to make too many of those as we go through this race. But we had a bit of a gap just there, so we managed to survive that one. But Sergio Perez has actually managed to find his way up into second place, and now he's putting the pressure on as we make a bit of a mistake through the middle sector chicane. He goes to the outside as we head into the last sector, but we managed to hold him off there, and thankfully we hold our lead. But Sergio Perez is looking very, very speedy in that Ferrari, and he is really in sync with that machine at the moment, and looking to take the lead if he gets an opportunity. So we need to make sure that doesn't happen. Just keep the car between the lines, and hopefully we'll be okay. But again, he tries again at this turn 3, but we managed to stay ahead of him still. So it is going to be an ongoing battle, it seems. Sergio Perez having the pace at the moment. Melbourne has never been a track that I am particularly comfortable with, but hopefully that doesn't hold us back in this one. And I will say that I have been getting much better at it recently, but the sort of flowing corners have never really been my thing, especially with the barriers in such close proximity to the racing line. But down the inside goes Sergio Perez into turn 3, and on that occasion we just couldn't hold on anymore, and Sergio Perez takes the lead on lap 7 of the race. But we will come back at him. We just need to wait for our opportunity in the parts of the track where we are stronger, which is along this straight with the DRS. We may be close enough here, not quite on this occasion, but we were very close heading into turn 1, so a better run through there, and we probably could have made it if we just got through turn 1 and 2 a bit cleaner. But we are very close to Sergio Perez still, so there's no issue with our pace. It's just whoever's in behind getting the slipstream in the DRS seems to be the faster one. So we move on again, and this time we do get a bit of a better run through the first corner with the DRS open. Can we make a move this time, having looked to the inside? Can we go down the inside of Perez? We can. Down the inside, he squeezes us all the way to the inside line, just about squeezing through there. I don't think he really saw us coming, but we go through and take the lead back away from Sergio Perez. A little bit off circuit there, but that was so close to having some kind of major incident there. But thankfully we were able to get the move done, and here's the onboard with Perez. He really just left the smallest window there and actually turned right and hit us as we were side by side there, and there we go, missing the apex of the next corner. But he's actually going to come back at us down the inside, but we're going to hold him off there. Charles Leclerc watching on, waiting for an opportunity. Sergio Perez down the inside again. He's hit us just on the front wheel there with his front wing, and he backs out of the overtake going into the final sector, and is going to try going around the outside. He's got a bad exit, but not going to get through there. And if you can just see over there, Sergio Perez actually has damage from that and is now defending aggressively from Charles Leclerc, managing to hold on now. But there you can clearly see the damage to Sergio Perez's front wing, the entire end plate missing. And as we go on through the laps, he just can't defend from Charles Leclerc anymore. Charles Leclerc getting through there.
Some information on Bottas. It looks like the problem is terminal. They're retiring the car. Virtual safety car.
And we get a virtual safety car for a mechanical failure for Valtteri Bottas. So unfortunately for Bottas, it's retirement in the Australian Grand Prix for a second year in a row for the Mercedes driver.
Okay, clear.
So that is some really bad luck in the opening round for the Finnish driver there. But back back to racing for us as the virtual safety car goes away, and we get focused back on the job at hand, and get back up to speed and continue our defense. But now it's from our teammate Charles Leclerc going around the outside and just about holding on there through turn 1, and he actually lost a lot of time there as he backed out of the corner. So I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but Charles Leclerc losing a lot of time just getting out of the way there, it seems. But meanwhile, here comes Lance Stroll, and he's putting pressure on Sergio Perez. So Lance Stroll having a brilliant race at the moment in about 4th place.
Approaching the pit window. You'll be on the softs.
And as we move on, you can actually see he's moved up to 3rd. So Lance Stroll doing absolutely brilliantly in the Mercedes as we continue to battle away with Charles Leclerc there. But holding on again for now. But it just seems that we don't quite have the ultimate pace. But as long as we can maintain the lead and maintain this position, I think we'll still be in with a good chance. These soft tyres, they'll have no chance of getting to the rain period. But we're going to box for another set of softs, and hopefully they will get us through to when it starts raining. So into the pits we come, and we'll get those new tyres on, get an undercut on the cars we're fighting. No one else, to my knowledge, has come into the pits yet. So their lead Stroll goes past, not too far behind us really, and all of our other competitors.
Release.
Lewis Hamilton actually losing a lot of ground so far in this race, it seems. Initially losing out to Sergio Perez. Obviously Lance Stroll and Charles Leclerc have overtaken him as well.
Stop today. One stop left in our strategy.
But anyway, we move on and out of pit lane, and now it is a pile of clean air in front of us. But Lando Norris behind us, he's got the fastest lap. He has made a pit stop, it seems at least, and he's down the inside as we're trying to hold on around the outside, and we do. Thankfully, we can't afford to let anyone in front of us. But Lando Norris, remember, qualified P11, so he's had an amazing race so far. Here's the replay of us going around the outside and taking the position back, and he doesn't make that too hard for us. To be fair to him, we do have the much faster car. But the McLarens, though, still are pretty decent, so they would be fast enough to overtake us sometimes, but not fast enough. They'd be fast enough to be hard to overtake for us. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, we check out the race director after everyone makes their first round of pit stops to show you where everyone's at. And there you can see Lando Norris has jumped just about everyone, and Charles Leclerc running 3rd now behind Norris. Lance Stroll still in 5th. Lewis Hamilton playing himself back into it, so maybe he went for an early pit stop as well, I'm not sure. But yeah, we maintain the
We
lead,
may see some rain. ETA is about 15 minutes.
and now the rain is coming, so that is perfect timing for us. So let's just hold on to this lead that we have. We've got a couple of seconds, so we can just chill out and drive at our own pace and wait until the rain comes and see what the race has to offer then. And hopefully the transition period won't be too long from when it starts raining to when we have to switch onto the
Battery is low
intermediates,
on energy. Reduce ERS deployment.
because I think that will be the telling part of the race. If I can hold on through those laps, I think we'll be okay, because overtaking during the rain, overtaking in the rain is a very difficult thing, even for the AI. So I think if we maintain the lead until the rain comes, we will probably be okay. But we'll see as we continue on through this race. But that is another thing I should mention, is the ERS is very difficult to manage, and that's something that our car is really lacking compared to all of the others, and that really affects our ability to fight with the other cars when we're in close proximity. But we move on to lap 26, and there is a mechanical failure for car 26, Daniel Kvyat. So that is something, I'm not sure what. But anyway, as we move on further into the race, battling away with Charles Leclerc, he did catch up to us. As
We don't think it's going to stay dry for much longer. The rain could come at any moment. Watch out. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
as we go on through this race. So Charles Leclerc is still well and truly in the fight.
Okay, you only have to stop once now. One stop left. Pit window opens in 5 laps time. 5 laps.
But the rain is coming, so is the pit stop window, so this might work out just about perfectly for us. These soft tyres will definitely last long enough to not be too worried about the tyre wear, even if the rain doesn't quite come within the range or of the pit stop window. What am I saying? Anyway, we should be fine on tyres, is the point I'm trying to make here. But as we continue to move on,
The track conditions aren't improving. It's your choice as to whether you want to fit the wets next time you come in.
and the rain has started to come
This
down.
rain could be with us for a while. Light rain conditions for the foreseeable future. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
And now it is just a matter of time until we hear the call to come in for the intermediate tyres. But Charles Leclerc, not giving up, he keeps trying these overtakes and then losing a bunch of time. We'll have a look at a replay. Bit of a bump there as we entered that corner. Charles Leclerc being a little aggressive around the outside, but I did give him a bit of a squeeze at the same time. So I'd say a little bit of 50-50, and that I didn't squeeze him off the track, but it was just a little bump on the way into the corner. But hopefully there was no damage from that. I didn't actually check.
There's 23 laps of fuel remaining.
That's good to know, I guess. But we move on later in the race, and it's still just not time for the intermediate tyres yet. But the rain, you can actually see the spots on the screen now, so it must maybe be starting to get a little bit heavier.
This light rain is going to be with us for a while now. Dries seem like the best tyre for now.
And yeah, still dry is the best tyre. You can see the indicator there telling me to pit. So my tyres have come to the end of the expected stint, but there's no point stopping now. We might as well just keep going on these old tyres just until the road is wet
This
enough.
light rain is going to be with us for a while now. We're not certain which is the best tyre right now. Dries or inters.
And finally, we get an indication that the intermediates will be
fitting
okay.
Intermediate tyres next.
And yeah, we do come in for those intermediate tyres. So finally, we can take off these old soft tyres that really were not doing much for me anymore.
Exit now.
New intermediate tyres on, and these should carry us to the end of the race. And yeah, hopefully we will.
That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops.
Hopefully we've timed this pit stop right and get an undercut on the cars who are battling once again. And I can say immediately, just through those first 2 corners, the car was handling a lot better. So this certainly, I think, feels like the right time. Bit of understeer there, as the tyres are still coming up to their full working temperature. Tyre blankets do a lot, but there's always just that little bit extra to go just to get them into their proper window. But anyway, as we continue through the lap, I'm very confident.
Okay, the stewards have now disabled DRS. DRS is now disabled.
That
We advise moving to mix 2. Fuel to mix 2.
I'm very confident that we made the right choice. And as we move on though, Sergio Perez is in front of us, but he is on the soft tyres. So I'm not exactly sure what's happened there. Is he lost so much time that we're actually just overtaking him because he's been so slow. With that bit of damage and the soft tyres in these conditions, I think Perez has just lost so much time. I was actually worried he jumped us for a second as we get past Robert Kubica there, getting lapped in the Williams car, unfortunately for them. Still a big lack of pace from Williams, unfortunately.
Heavy rain to arrive.
But now heavy rain is expected to come soon, so that could throw another spanner in the works at the end of the race. But you'll notice that we have reclaimed the lead since that round of pit stops. Charles Leclerc second, Lewis Hamilton is running third at the moment, so it's a racing point 1-2 to start this season if things stay as they are. But you can just see struggling in these conditions. But I think Charles Leclerc
Battery charge is low. If we turn down the ERS deployment, we can harvest more energy.
has some kind of issue. He's dropping a lot of time to me, and Lewis Hamilton is piling the pressure on at the moment, and he is right behind him. So I'm not sure if that was from the battle that we had, or if he's had a battle with Hamilton at some point. Lance Stroll holding his nerve ahead of Lando Norris, that is, in 4th place, and doing a good job there for Lance Stroll, and flying the flag for the Mercedes team, the sole remaining Mercedes. But we catch up to some lap cars there, and we put 2 wheels off the road, not that you could really tell, to get past one of the lap cars there. I think that was Alex Albon, but that was a bit of a scary moment, and yeah, that probably wasn't the best decision. I should have gone the other way, really, but it was a split-second decision. I couldn't see a thing. There was so much, just so much spray coming off of the cars ahead, and yeah, I just couldn't see a thing. Giovinazzi moves out the way in a much easier place there, and we managed to overtake him a lot easier. But that was a hard-in-mouth moment there, overtaking Albon, and not really knowing where he was or where the edge of the track and the wall were. Just so much spray.
Increase ERS deployment. It's time to use some of this charge.
And that is the benefit of being the leader, though, is for the most part you do have a clear view.
These conditions look pretty terrible, but that water is draining away. I think the intermediate is going to stay the tyre of choice for a while yet.
So the rain getting more intense as this race goes on, but we've got a battle here for 2nd place. Hamilton down the inside, Stroll down the inside of Hamilton, down the inside of Leclerc, and he's got him. Stroll going from 4th to 2nd in one corner. Brilliant move by the Canadian. Let's have a look at the replay, and Hamilton hesitated and Stroll took that opportunity. Leclerc saw him at the last minute, knew he couldn't fight it off, and Lance Stroll from 4th to 2nd. That is an awesome move by Lance Stroll there. And Hamilton just couldn't find the space on the inside when he needed to, didn't have the confidence on the brakes, and Lance Stroll, well, he had all the confidence in the world, and he took those 2 positions, and now finds himself in 2nd.
Our best lap so far is a 1:26.2.
So that is an unbelievable move by Stroll, but unfortunately for him, Hamilton does eventually get past. Hamilton moves himself up into 2nd place. Lando Norris retires from the race with a mechanical failure on lap 55, so close to the end of the race, unfortunately for Lando there. But that is the way things go. So final lap now for us, and there is not much standing between us and the end of the race about 5 kilometers at this point. So as we head through the final lap, no Hamilton in sight with all the battling that he did with Lance Stroll and Charles Leclerc. They've all lost quite a lot of time, and I've got a racetrack to myself. It looks like we're in a practice session at the moment, but as we head on through this final lap, the Australian crowds have had to endure all kinds of weather conditions today, but rain or shine, they've stuck around, and they're about to get the reward. You can hear the cheers there as we head through the middle sector near or past the lake here. But yeah, through to the high-speed chicane for the final time. Very tricky section of the track, but taking no risks this time, not going anywhere near that exit curb. And now into the final sector, just a few corners to go between us and our first Grand Prix win. I was a little bit annoyed that Sergio Perez was so successful last season in terms of podiums and wins, but this time it is our turn as we now head into the very last stages of the lap, the last 2 corners, and now the final corner. And accelerating out of the final corner now towards the line. It is going to be a race win for us at our home race, the Australian Grand Prix, and our first win in F1.
Fantastic. You've won the Grand Prix.
And an incredible win for Racing Point. A brilliant performance. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
Racing Point's performance today has shown that they can be competitive with the veterans of the sport. They're making their way out to the podium now as we speak, and the reaction from the crowd must be incredibly uplifting for them.
Well, there you go. I don't really have any more words to add. I think the pictures just say it all there. Up on the podium with Lewis Hamilton for the Red Bull team and Lance Stroll at Mercedes. What a crazy, crazy race that was. And what a crazy season we have coming.
And now let's take a look at the drivers' standings. The scientist takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
But there's no question in my mind, it has to go to George Russell. What a performance. He's got every right to be proud of what he accomplished out there today.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Racing Point move up to the top of the standings. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Alright, thank you, Crofty. One thing I have just noticed, no one was handed the fastest lap point for that race. So I think what happened is Lando Norris had the fastest lap, and he retired from the race. So I'm not actually sure what happens in real life if someone outside the top 10 gets the fastest lap. I know they don't get the point, but I don't know if the point goes to the fastest in the top 10 or if they just don't have one. But for now, there is no point for fastest lap in this race, so that's an interesting thing. Anyway, other than that though, it was a pretty decent race. That was a nice move on Sergio Perez. We didn't quite have the pace at every stage, but we managed to fight for the positions when we needed to, and 2 of our main rivals ended up with a bit of damage. There's the damage for Sergio Perez as we came together, and the same goes for Charles Leclerc at one point as well, as he backs out of a battle there. But yeah, that was obviously a roaring success for us to grab the race win there, and to do it in style with all the battling we did. It was pretty cool. Wet and dry conditions as well. Taking some risk with the lap traffic, but yeah, that was a pretty crazy race and a very enjoyable one. As for the other drivers on the podium, Lewis Hamilton obviously will be a title contender, I think, in that Red Bull car if they keep up the R&D, and Lance Stroll as well. A really good drive for him today. and that was quite funny to see him up on the podium in the Mercedes suit. But well played, and who knows, he might be in the fight later this year if he can keep this run going, because this wasn't a coincidence. He was very, very quick all throughout the race. But anyway, let's watch the rest of these highlights and then get into the interviews.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. You took the top points today. Was it a comfortable win?
Certainly not. There was a lot going on in this race. We had to defend the position a few times, had to take it back a few times, had to deal with the rain, and yeah, there was a lot going on, but we came through in the end.
We all underestimated you, didn't we?
Well, I think coming into this season, we knew the car would be pretty good, but yeah, to take this first race win is really, really cool, and yeah, we didn't expect it either.
Judging from today's race, it must be pretty hard to fend off Devon when he wants to pass.
Yeah, of course, but well, it's a lot easier when you've got a car like this, it seems. Didn't see him the whole time. Boo Devon.
Things looked close between you and your rival for a bit, but you came out on top, didn't you?
Yeah. Sure.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Brilliant answers there. Very, very creative. Anyway, that brings this weekend to an end. We'll get some resource points to put into the R&D. Not really sure what happened to Verstappen in this one. Didn't really see him throughout the whole race. He just didn't really seem to have the overall pace that anyone else had. Same for Vettel. Vettel. Didn't see too much of him
Just
either.
wanted to say congrats on the podium. It's thoroughly deserved. We were sweating those last few laps on the pit wall, but you brought it home.
Thanks.
Looks like one of your rivals has also been invited to a historical event. This could be a good opportunity to play up your rivalry for the press and expand your reputation.
Alright. Thanks everyone. But yeah, I totally lost my train of thought thanks to those two. No idea what I was saying. Didn't see too much of Vettel, that's what I was saying. Perez and Hamilton and Stroll, all the new drivers, were stealing the show. Saw Lando Norris a couple of times as well. So this could be a very interesting championship if they're the contenders we have to deal with. But we'll see how it goes. Vettel, obviously the reigning champion at the moment, now a 5-time champion, so he'll definitely be one to look out for. So definitely not counting at him at this point. Verstappen, obviously, maybe he was just having an off race, but yeah, it was definitely Hamilton leading the charge for Red Bull today. But yeah, hopefully Verstappen will be able to come back as we head into the next round in Bahrain. But Bahrain, I'm a little bit worried about it, given the strengths and weaknesses of our car. It should definitely suit pretty much all of our rivals, a lot more than us, with all the straights, the engine power meaning a lot there. So yeah, Bahrain could be a tricky one, but we'll see when we get there. But the engine upgrade, we've got a major one on the car. That'll come for Azerbaijan, so the long straight there, we should get a little bit of time back along that straight. But we actually have something unique to do now. Given that this is our first race win, we get a nice trophy for it, or our first win in Australia specifically. So that's a really nice addition, and we'll be able to add that to our trophy cabinet. So there it is in all of its glory, and I'll just do some rearranging here. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.